from Tech Vlog Coding. In this video, I would like to tell you the very important things in the Web Development Best Practice 2024. I think many developers don't know about that. Even with ever-changing trends and frequently emerging new technologies, there are the best practices web development always employs as they are time-tested and proven to be efficient. In this article, we'll look into the most appreciated and useful techniques and strategies that professional web developers like and utilize for outstanding results. In general, people learn from school, from Google, from workplace, from team, from YouTube, and so on. In here, you will learn 5 points as the best practice in HTML code. First, start with a doctype declaration. It's crucial to inform browsers about the version of the HTML document is written in. This simple doctype instruction in HTML5 is required to ensure standard mode rendering of your pages. Otherwise, you'll force browsers to render pages in Quirks mode. Second, a single H1 on page. It means use only one H1 tag in a web page. A few developers have known about how to use heading tag in the right way. Here is the reference. A W3C specification official recommends for developers to use only one H1 tag on a page. Including several first-level heading tags will impair the search engine performance of your pages. Based on Stack Overflow, it is recommended to have only one H1 heading per page for the purpose of clear and meaningful structure. Its important practices and standards can evolve search engines trying to understand the content. Having multiple H1 headings may confuse search engines and dilute the focus of your page. By using a single H1 heading, you can optimize your page for a specific keyword or topic, helping search engines understand the content better and potentially improve your search rankings. The third, alt attribute for image. Don't forget to specify the alt attribute in your IMG tags. They have to describe precisely what the image is about, since this description will be shown in case the image fails to load. This element can have a significant impact on the accessibility qualities of your web pages as well as search engine rankings. You know, Google's article about images has a heading, Use descriptive alt text. This is no coincidence. Google places a relatively high value on alt text. They use it to determine what is on the image, but also how it relates to the surrounding text. This is why, in Yoast SEO content analysis, it has a feature that specifically checks that you have at least one image with an alt tag that contains your focus key phrase. Fourth, use semantic markup. Besides the obvious reason that semantic HTML tags are easier to read and understand, for example, by web developers reviewing the code, there is a specific reason why you should always use semantic tags. Semantic HTML tags are important for SEO, search engine optimization, because they indicate the role of the content within the tags. Our best practices in the website development blog has already brought to light the importance of semantic markup in HTML5. In short, the utilization of semantic tags makes your web pages structured and more comprehensible for both devs and search engines. Here's the difference between non-semantic and semantic markup. And the last one is, don't forget to close your tags. Even though browsers will be able to run your HTML code anyway, it's still considered a bad practice to leave tags unclosed. Just like with undeclared doctype, unclosed tags can cause errors in web page rendering. Some programmers rely on in-build validators to close their tags, but they can put closing tags in the wrong places in the code, causing web page crashes. You know, cascading style sheets are the backbone of web design, and every front-end developer needs to go through them. In this section, we'll explore some CSS best practices to consider when building applications. Before we start, please keep in mind that it is imperative for developers, junior, senior, or otherwise, to keep themselves updated on the best practices of whatever technology they're focusing in. There is nothing preventing the best practices of today changing tomorrow. Every additional CSS file negatively impacts the critical rendering path, or CRP. The more style sheets or style sheet requests are included in your HTML document, the more time browsers will need to build the CSS objective model or CSSOM. To optimize your CRP and overall performance, opt for essential-only styles to represent your content. Here are example. Don't import it all CSS in a file and use it in other page, which is not required to use. Please import only needed it. The second best practice for CSS is don't use inline styles. Out of 3 methods of adding CSS, external, internal, and inline, web developers consider the use of inline styles not just a bad but appalling practice. Adding different style rules to each element can turn the development process, web page organization, and performance into a nightmare. Inline CSS impedes many important principles of web development such as consistency, maintainability, and accessibility. Next is don't use important property. This rule overrides all previous styles in a particular element unless there's another important rule for each specific property. Web developers recommend abstaining from using it unless there's no other way to add specificity. Otherwise, comprehending and debugging your CSS code will be rather complicated. One more important point is use shorthand properties. They allow you to set the values of several other CSS properties at once. You can save time and effort by writing style sheets that are more clean and readable by utilizing a shorthand property. Another one is use CSS preprocessors. With only basic CSS, web developers cannot reuse a set of rules and several selectors that contain unclear data across a style sheet. A CSS preprocessor provides a sophisticated approach to writing that extends CSS functionality and allows generation of code from the program's unique syntax. This advanced code is compiled into standard CSS code that the browser can comprehend. Finally, don't use minimize nesting. You shouldn't nest your CSS selectors too deeply into a single parent or parent-to-child relation. Take the following example. As your project grows and your style sheet structure along with it, having huge swaths of nested CSS code becomes difficult to maintain. Deeply nested styles can increase specificity. However, they also make your code harder to read. Limit nesting to a reasonable level. Try to avoid nesting selectors more than 3 levels deep. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new, please help to subscribe to get more video.